knowledge of the destruction of suffering, etc. These are all the distinctions that the Buddha knows the world with its many and varied acquired dispositions and its deliverances without obstacle. The Buddha knows completely and fully these many diverse dispositions and, since this knowledge is intact and invincible in him, it is called the sixth power. 7. The knowledge of the way leading to the various destinies. The power of the knowledge of the way leading to the various destinies. 1. Some say that action is this way. Why? It is because of action that one circulates through the destinies. If action exists, there is the possibility of destroying it and putting an end to it. This ending consists of the three elements of the noble path and pure intention. This is why actions are the way leading to the various destinies. 2. Others say that it is the concentration of 5 members and 5 knowledges. A note in red says that this is pure concentration and the 5 factors of trance. In all cases, it realizes profitable things. 3. Others say that the 4th dhyana is the way in question. Why? The 4th dhyana is the culmination of all the concentrations. As is said in the Sutras, the good minds, concentrated, free of distraction, collected, all enter into the 4th dhyana. 4. Others say that mindfulness of the body is the way leading to the various destinies, for it is the origin of the benefits resulting from the path. 5. Others say that it is a question of all the noble paths, for, by using these noble paths, one obtains the benefits at will. 6. Finally, there are teachers who have explained all the good paths, all the bad paths, all the noble paths, and for each of them, the Buddha knows the culmination, as is said in the Mao Chu King. The Buddha knows all of this fully and completely, and, since this wisdom is intact and invincible in him, it is called the 7th power. 8. The knowledge of former abodes. The power of the knowledge of former abodes. Former abodes are of 3 types. 1. Those of which one has the awareness. 2. Those of which one has the knowledge. 3. Those that are the object of the power of knowledge. The ordinary person has only the awareness of them. The sravaka has both the awareness and the knowledge of them. The Buddha has the awareness, the knowledge and the power of the knowledge of them. Why is that? The ordinary person knows only through which former abodes he has passed, but does not know what sequence of karmic causes and conditions provoked them. This is why the ordinary person has only awareness of former abodes, but does not have knowledge of them. Because he knows the truth of the origin of suffering, the sravaka knows clearly the sequence of causes and conditions from which the previous abodes derived. This is why the sravaka has the awareness and the knowledge of them. If at the start, when he was still an ordinary person, the sravaka had awareness of his previous abodes and later, having entered into the path of seeing the truths, he recognized the causes and conditions of their origins. It is during the 8th pure mind that he succeeds in cutting off wrong views, and from then on the simple awareness that he had of his previous existences changes into knowledge. Why? Because knowledge is the root of seeing. On the other hand, if the sravaka first obtains the noble path of seeing the truths and only later does the knowledge of former abodes arise in him, he has already recognized the power of the causes and conditions which are the origin of suffering, and, from then on, the awareness that he has of his former abodes changes into knowledge. Question. But at the beginning, when he was still the bodhisattva, the Buddha had awareness of his earlier abodes, then cut off the passions inherent in the sphere of nothingness and finally entered into the noble path of seeing the truths. In these conditions, why did the Buddha say, In the first watch of the night of the enlightenment, when I was still a worldly person, I obtained the first knowledge. 1. The knowledge of former abodes. According to your reasoning, the Buddha should have said that he obtained the awareness of former abodes and not their knowledge. Answer. At that time, during the first watch of the night of enlightenment, it was not yet a knowledge. But later, when the Buddha was in public, he said, "It was at that time that I attained this knowledge," and he declared to people, "This knowledge was obtained by me during the first watch." He may be compared to the king who, before exerting his kingship, had fathered a son. Only later, when this king was exerting his kingship, people questioned him about his son and asked when he had been born. The king replied, "The king's son was born at such and such a date." However, at the time when his son had been born, the king was not yet exerting his kingship, but as now he is the king, he considers his son as son of the king and he affirms that the king's son was born at that particular date. It is the same for the Buddha. At the time when knowledge of former abodes arose in him, it was not yet a knowledge but was only an awareness. But in the course of the last watch of enlightenment, the Buddha recognized the causes and conditions of the origin of suffering, and from then on this awareness of former abodes changed into knowledge. And later in public, the Buddha declared, "During the first watch, I obtained this knowledge." Question. That is what should be understood by awareness and knowledge of former abodes. Then what is the power consisting of awareness of these abodes? By using this knowledge, for himself as well as for other people, the Buddha knows the former abodes occupied during innumerable and infinite generations as well as the many causes and conditions from which they derive. The Buddha knows this fully and completely, and as this knowledge is intact and invincible in him, it is called the eighth power. 9. The knowledge of death and rebirth. The power of the knowledge of death and rebirth. Using the divine eye, the Buddha sees the place of deaths and rebirths of beings. The worldly person using the divine eye sees, at the maximum, one universe of 4 directions. The sravaka, at the maximum, sees about a small chiliocosm. He sees it entirely from top to bottom. Question. But the great Brahmaraja, he too is able to see a chiliocosm. How does the sravaka differ from him? Answer. The great Brahmaraja, standing in the middle of the chiliocosm, sees it all, but standing at the edge, he does not see the other parts. This is not so for the sravaka. Wherever he is, he always sees all of the chiliocosm. The Pratyeka Buddha sees 100,000 universes. The Buddhas see innumerable and infinite universes. In worldly people, the knowledge of the divine eye is an awareness but not yet a knowledge. He sees only the things that exist, but he cannot see for what karmic causes and conditions they have taken birth. See what has been said in regard to former abodes. Furthermore, in Anilu Teou, the foremost of those who possess the divine eye, the material derived from the 4 great elements of the form realm, the matter constituting his divine eyewash only semi-pure. On the other hand, in the